With the release of a new console like the PlayStation 5 comes hope that previous neglected games by big game-producing companies will either be released brand new or at least remastered. The once true and only boxing game, the Fight Night franchise, is one of those games. Now the question arises, is there still hope? And can we expect that EA Sports releases another Fight Night game or at least brings out Fight Night Champion remastered to the PlayStation 5, the new console? Stick around to find out. I'll catch you on the Counterpunch.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
First off, I want to thank you for tuning in again to Usa Gaming here on YouTube. Now in this video, I'm going to be answering the question that hasn't been answered yet till this day. And that is why EA Sports stopped producing Fight Night games, and if in the future we can expect EA Sports to release yet another great boxing game. Let's get straight to it. To explain where the whole problem began, we have to take a stroll down memory lane. 2011 Fight Night Champion hit the market and it got big numbers. Another boxing game has been released by EA Sports with extreme detail. You could play as Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson felt like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson moved like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was intimidating like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was powerful like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a killer like Mike Tyson. Ferocious. His style was impetuous. His defense impregnable. A true ferocious animal just like in real life.
Subscribe.
The GOAT, Ali, moved like the GOAT, Ali. He jabbed like Ali. He was floating like Ali and stinging like bees like Ali. You can play as Mike Tyson versus Holyfield, and you, as a player, get the outcome that you want. You're able to play as Sugar Ray Leonard. You're able to play as Sugar Ray Robinson versus Mike Tyson. Fights that never happened, but you wish they did. You could play as Vitaly Klitschko versus Lennox Lewis, a fight that personally had a huge impact on my life because when I watched it as a 9-year-old kid, I believed that the underdog Klitschko would be able to beat Lewis. And then the outcome, and Lewis saying after the fight that he thought he would have won anyway. But Vitaly's performance was great, but it couldn't be continued because of a huge cut on his eye. Yeah, relive those fights. Beat Lewis because Vitaly was a lot better. Let me just stop myself there because I could go on for days and ages on this subject right here because man, I am a boxing fan and this game was bananas. But if you look through the roster of Fight Night Champion, you notice that one key player is missing, and that is Floyd Money Mayweather. And this is where the whole problem began. Matter of fact, I blame Floyd Mayweather for the mess that boxing is in today. Jake Paul, Logan Paul in boxing is one of the worst decisions ever. But that's a subject for another video. Comment below if you want me to talk about it as well. The reason why Floyd Money Mayweather was not in Fight Night Champion was one reason and one reason only, and you can guess that reason right now, and that was cash money, dollar signs, because Mayweather wanted a hell of a lot of coin to be in that game.
He's got more cash than anybody in this place. He's a real hunter. You know what a hunter is?
No, Frank, you tell me. What is a hustle?
It's a Yiddish word for pig. It's a guy, he wants more than what he needs.
So EA Sports just left him out. And guess what? The game worked without him. And it was great without him. And it didn't need him. And it wasn't missing him. Skip a few years in boxing and boxing became the sport where the most amount of money could be made in the least amount of time. Floyd Money Mayweather getting hundreds of millions of dollars for one fight. And of course, a lot of hungry fighters jumped on that bandwagon and said to themselves, you know what? I want to be like Mayweather. I want to make a lot of money. 2017, because they didn't have to give the fighters in real life all too much money. Switch forward a couple of years, and as I said, boxers were getting serious money. And they were doing things that weren't for the love of the sport anymore. Yeah, you ever hear the saying? Money changes people. Skip to 2020 and you know exactly what I'm talking about. EA Sports hasn't even talked about Fight Night franchise since 2011. And why? Check this out. It's because they can't pay the fighters anymore to be in the game. And why can't they pay the fighters anymore? Because Floyd Money Mayweather showed everyone that you can make a hell of a lot of money in boxing, and everybody wants to do the same. And they don't give a rat's ass about the sport of boxing no more. It's all business, it's all politics, it's all about making that money. Yeah.
Money, yeah. Money, yeah. Bitch, go for the top shop, here we go.
And if you still don't catch my drift, let me make this short example right here. UFC. And for all of you boys out there that say, man, nah, the real reason why Fight Night has not been produced anymore was because the Ultimate Fighting Championship took over. And I'm not here to debate whether or not MMA became more popular. Yeah, it did. Nah, I'm here to state that from the two sports, boxing or MMA, the UFC is a lot more lucrative and smart decision for EA Sports to go with to produce a game than boxing, because UFC, even though they underpaying their fighters and their fighters getting a fraction of the money that they should actually be getting, they have all their fighters bound to contract and all under license of the UFC, and so UFC can pretty much give all the rights for all the fighters directly to EA Sports, and they will go ahead and make a game year after year like we've been seeing now since 2012. If you think about it, it all makes perfect sense, don't it? And for some of you out there who say I'm wrong for putting all this hate on Floyd Money Mayweather, well, I'm going to take it a step further. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. When it comes to boxing, the utmost respect for those two guys. When it comes to outside business, worst part of the sport. Now, I'm simply talking about this matter now from a fan point of view, alright? I believe that due to them, we ain't gonna be getting any boxing game by EA Sports or any big game company anytime soon. And I'll tell you why. Once again, that money. Look what they're doing. UFC 4 comes out. You can microtransaction buy Anthony Joshua in the game. You can buy Tyson Fury in the game. Separately, after you bought the game, microtransactions, you go ahead and buy Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Are you kidding me? In a UFC game, in an octagon, you can play as the two world heavyweight champions of boxing. And they not only throw punches, they have kicks, they have grappling skills. Are you kidding me? Where is the sport of boxing going? I am so confused right now. I am so confused.
Confusion of the highest order.
And let me take it even a step further. EA Sports produces UFC. EA Sports produces FIFA. What does EA Sports do? You can now also play as Anthony Joshua in a FIFA game. So, you let me know if those so-called ambassadors are doing their job correctly when it comes to boxing. When you say, hey, you can play no boxing games to 2020, but hey, you can play boxers in other sports, but it ain't boxing. But they are the best boxers in the world, but it still ain't boxing. Buy the games, buy the microtransactions, and be a good little slave of the system. Nah, not me. I ain't buying UFC 4 to play AJ or Fury. I love the sport of boxing too much. The only game I'm ever gonna buy when it comes to the point where I wanna play AJ or Fury is a boxing game. Period. Done. As the great Teddy Atlas said, commentating in the last Fight Night Champion 2011, Fiend. If you check out the comments on YouTube of the UFC gameplay footage of Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, you find mixed emotions. But mostly you find people saying, hey, why the hell doesn't EA make another Fight Night boxing game? Well, I hope that this video here that I just made in detail answers that question for you, because it's not EA Sports' fault. EA Sports is solely one thing, and that is a big game producing company. It's not up to them to push the sports. It's up to the sports to push the sports. It's up to the ambassadors of the sports to push these exact sports, and to therefore make it possible for big game producing companies like EA to say, hey, let's actually make a game about this specific sport. Now, before you start going in the comment section on this video here and telling me that there is going to be a new boxing game here coming soon, 2021, Esports Boxing Club, I know all about that, yeah, because I stay tuned into boxing, because I am a huge fan of the sport and I think it's the greatest sport ever. That being said, I don't believe the hype anymore. I don't buy into the hype of this game. You know why? Because I can guarantee you that AJ and Fury ain't going to be in that game. I can guarantee you that Roy Jones ain't going to be in that game. I guarantee you that Floyd Money Mayweather ain't gonna be in that game. I guarantee you that Manny Pacquiao, the great Ali, George Foreman, Sonny Liston, Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, Sugar Ray Robinson ain't gonna be in that game. I'm pretty sure though that they will, however, have McGregor in there, that they will have Jake Paul in there, Logan Paul, who even knows KSI, man? Shit. And that's why I say, and that's why I stand by my way, there ain't gonna be a legit boxing game gonna be released soon. However, there is hope. We together can make a change. We together can go ahead and show Fight Night franchise and show EA Sports that a new Fight Night game must hit the scene again. You can do that by hitting that like button here. You can do that by sharing this video with your boxing enthusiastic friends and have them see it, because this subject has not been spoken about yet on YouTube to this day. And there's also another way how we can make sure that EA Sports recognizes that fans want a new Fight Night game. And how can we do that? Well, we can do that by not getting their content in other games. We can do that by not supporting them putting Anthony Joshua in a soccer game and in a UFC game, because if we buy those games, it's never gonna stop. You know why? Because the big game producing companies, they're all about money as well. Everybody's about profit. They don't give a damn about the sports. If we keep supporting their actions, it ain't never gonna change. With that being said, thanks for sticking through this video with yours truly, Yusek Gaming. Jab that like button and knock out your mouse and subscribe to this channel, and I will catch you later, fellow boxing enthusiasts.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.